Now that I know how to make my planets, I need to make my orbits, and I also need to put the planets in the right place. So these guys are on the ground. Everything's on the ground. And so I want the planets to be kind of up in the middle of where the sun is. Here's how I do that. I click on the sun, and then I click this little button here that helps me figure out how tall the sun is. And I can just actually field over it, but if I click it, it says 45. That means that the middle of the sun is about 22 and a half. So if I click Mercury here and click this little arrow, all I gotta do is move it just a little bit. That shows me this 2, and I'm gonna change that to 23. So that raises Mercury up to 23. I'll do the same for Venus over here, and raise Venus up to 23. So now the bottoms of these are going to be about the middle of these. So actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to make this a little bit lower, make this one about a 20. And the reason why is because this is measuring from the bottom. So let me get rid of this menu here. And move it, there we go. So I put this at about a 20. That way the bottom's at a 20, so the middle is a little bit higher. Okay, so now I've got to make my orbits. Here's how I make the orbits. I go over to these little shapes. I want to get this one here, the torus. And I grab them, put them over here. Then I'm going to click on this menu here. As long as this guy's highlighted, I'm going to click on the menu. And this gives me different things that I can do with this shape. So I want this basically to be a really, 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 really thin line. So what I need to do is change the tube basically to 0.1, the smallest I can get it. So 0.1, that makes it really, really small. Then I'm going to take the radius and I'm just going to pull it out here. It's good to use the radius because this keeps this as a perfect circle. So I want to go ahead and do that. And there we go. And then I'm going to change the color to white. There we go. And now I just need to make sure that it is around the sun. So the way I do that is I go, so I have a full top view, and I use my arrows, and I just, oops, let me highlight it and click it, and I'll move it up, and I just kind of look at it and make sure that it is about right. Luckily, none of the planet's orbits are perfect, so these don't have to be completely perfect either. So I've got that one just like that. So now I can raise this orbit up off the ground the same way I do everything else. I highlight it, I grab this, and I can just pull them up. And I want him to be about the middle of Mercury, which I put at 23, so I need this to be maybe at 24 or so. So let's just click on here, this height, and 24. I'm just looking at this, it looks like a little bit, there we go. Okay, so then I can go ahead and just make the radius bigger until it basically goes right around. Let's make this one 87. Yeah, so it basically goes right through Mercury. And I can take Mercury and I can click him and move the arrow and move it like that. So we've got one here. And now I'm just going to take another one here and go Control C, Control V. And I'm going to move him back to the center. I'm just copying the first one that I made because it's the right height. And then I'm going to make it bigger. So it's going to go around Venus. And the best thing to do actually is to just use your radius deal here, make it big, and then move the planets into position. So that's kind of the easiest way. It's easier to move a planet to an orbit than it is to move an orbit to the planet. So then I have Venus, just like that. So all I have to do is repeat these steps and I will have all of my planets. And everything will be in the right spot. Now, there is a little bit of a trick to making the rings around Saturn. It's basically kind of the same thing that I just did, except for I use the tube. I'll let you figure that out. But I will show you this. When I started this, I didn't know exactly where I was on the grid. So I'm going to back up. And I want this to be pretty close to the center. So I'm going to grab all of this and just move it. Oops, grab all of it. And with my arrows, I'm going to just kind of pull it so that it looks more towards the middle. That way I can get all of my circles as big as they need to be because the Neptune circle has to be really, really big. So now I've got my first two planets And I want to color these planets correctly, so I'll probably do Mars is red, which would be over here. And then, of course, we'll make Earth blue or green if you want to. And you want the orbits to be out a little ways. The sizes don't have to be perfect because the planets are much bigger in relation to each other than we can really make actually perfect here. But I think you've got the idea of how to do this. And another neat thing is I can grab all of this at one and pull it up. So the entire thing is off the ground, which kind of looks a little bit better to do it like that. So I think you've got a good start. Good luck.